case that shocked the world, and now it has exploded into a city out of control. The 4 LAPD officers in the Rodney King beating case found not guilty on all counts except...
So you know this location, maybe not by looking at it in this perspective, but you have seen this exact location before. It is very, very infamous. Today I'm joined by Lamont at large. We are in Lakeview Terrace, part of LA, basically, the outskirts. This is really the scene that started the 1992 LA riots, really. I mean, this is where Rodney King was beaten. March 3rd, 1991. I believe Rodney King was at a party. He was drinking with some friends. They got onto the highway, and he was flying down the highway, 115 miles an hour. I think he went through a red light. The cops tried to stop him.
Because he didn't want to be pulled over. He didn't want to go back to prison. I believe at the time he was on parole.
Yeah. 8-mile pursuit off of the 210, Highway 210 here. And he stopped basically right by this pole, right there. Now, this building was not here at the time. This was just land. The video starts halfway through everything. So he's already on the ground.
But that taser hanging out of him.
Yes.
And obviously, it had no effect on him.
Yeah, you could see where he tries to get up, and that's when they start really cracking him. I mean, there's even points like one of the cops puts their arm up to stop.
He did try to stop them, and you could clearly see in the video.
There's definitely...
This guy just tells, I think he goes to Powell, because Powell and Kuhn, they were the ones that were really going in on him. There was the fourth guy, last name was Wynn, don't remember his first name. No one really remembers him or talks about him, but he was the fourth cop. But everyone talks about the Briseño, Powell, and Kuhn, because they were the ones doing most of the beating, I guess.
Now he passed away in 2012, but he maintained up until the end of his life that he did not resist arrest. But this is also after an 8-mile high pursuit chase at over 100 miles an hour.
I used to work for this guy when I was a kid in West LA, and his brother, he used to be a cop, and he was working that night, but he was not working in this division. He was working maybe in the division over. But from what he said, from what I remember, and by the way, this was 25 years ago that I spoke with him, was that the police that were pursuing him believed that Rodney King was high on PCP. And if people don't know what PCP is or the effects that it has on the human body, it basically gives you superhuman strength and you're not able to feel any pain.
Yeah.
So when these cops are beating the tar out of him, not saying that gives them the right to do so, but they're thinking this guy is high on PCP. And when you're on that drug, I mean, there has been instances where people have been shot multiple times. They have not stopped.
Yeah. You're like Superman with that stuff.
Yeah.
And he was a big guy, 6'3", 260. Yeah, he was a big guy.
He was not a small guy. Sure.
So now what happened was there were 2 other people in the car with him.
Yeah, it was Freddie Helms and Brian Allen. They were just passengers in his vehicle, and apparently they follow direction from the police. Get your hands up, all this stuff, get on the ground, spread them. Then they cuffed them. However, Rodney King, drunk, not wanting to go back to prison, was a little, let's say, defiant.
So he pulled over pretty much right in this area, right here. Basically parks right here. And you can see how, of course, here's the trees. Again, the trees are directly in the way now. This is the view that the cops would have had looking over at the apartment, but everything was dark. And he had 11 fractures, his cheekbone.
Broken cheekbone, broken ankle.
And his skull was just...
Remember, his cheek was just, it was kind of out
crazy. They rushed him to the hospital, then they rushed him to another hospital because his injuries were so severe that hospital couldn't even handle it, so then he went somewhere else. Now, as far as the PCP thing goes, the police they testified saying that they thought he was on PCP, but I don't think that was ever proven. He did have alcohol in his system, though. He had been drinking.
Oh, yeah.
I think, you know, my personal opinion is he, like you said, he didn't want to go back to jail.
Of course not.
So he was trying to just lose the cops. By the time they get out of the car, there's 20 cop cars or whatever. The helicopter, there's this whole commotion, and that's really what woke up George Holliday. So enter George Holliday. He lived across the street from this. He happened to be in his apartment, standing outside of his balcony.
Outside of his apartment because he was hearing a bunch of commotion outside, and he's seeing somebody getting the brakes beat off of them, if you will. And at that time, he had bought a brand new shiny camera.
Yeah, brand new. I believe Terminator 2, there was a scene at a bar right around the corner here that was being filmed, so I think he bought it for that. But anyway, you can see in the shots, when he pans out, you can see this fence here, and it's directly across from the car. This is probably one of the more significant locations to all of the areas, all of the situations that went down. This is the intersection where the truck driver, Reginald Denny, was driving his truck through, and this market right here, I don't know if it's a liquor store anymore, but yeah, it is. Yeah, so Tom Liquors or Tom Market, whatever it was called at the time, it was getting looted, and everybody was coming out of here in droves, and they were running across the street, and he stopped in the intersection because he didn't want to run anybody over. He probably should have kept going, and everybody knows, if you know anything about the L.A. riots in '92, you know that he got pulled out of the truck, and they just unmercifully beat him.
If he didn't want to hurt anybody, 15 miles an hour. If you want to step in front of the truck, be my guest.
Yeah.
But he should not have stopped.
Yeah. They pulled him out, stomped on his head, a brick to the side of the head,
Right to the side of the head.
caved his skull in basically, and left him for dead.
Oh, it's just a bloody pulp. And if those 4 people that came to save his life, if they didn't come, he would have died.
Yeah.
He would have died.
Absolutely. In fact, there was, so the 4 people that showed up, I don't remember their names, but they were significant in the sense that one he managed to get back in the truck, first of all. A lot of people don't know that. He didn't stay on the ground.
Thankfully, one of the people that came was a truck driver.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know how to drive a truck, you're going to look at it, you're going to be like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you get this thing started?
One of them was kind of holding him and making sure that he's, still alert or still somewhat conscious.
Making sure he's okay.
One of them was driving it.
Yeah.
And then there was one hanging off of the truck because the windshield was completely smashed. So he was directing him how to drive, and then that person's wife was in the car directly in front of the truck, kind of guiding it through the destruction of the riots, and they drove it 3 miles to the hospital, and that's what saved his life. And if you think about it, if this guy, Holliday, didn't have that camera, if he never woke up, if he wasn't home, if it was never recorded,
King would have gone back to prison.
Yeah.
He would have probably did a few more years, and he would have just continued on with his life.
Yeah. But because of the video camera, it changed the whole world. I mean, really, it in some way, shape, or form, and it was basically right from that spot.